All right, let me call the meeting to order if I can, please, everyone. Is this went done? All right. Welcome, everyone. It's 2 p.m., Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026, regular scheduled meeting of the Fort Myers Beach Charter Review Commission. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Do the roll call, starting with you, Ed, please.
Ed Schoonover.
Jim Dunlap.
Bev Milligan.
Brian Thomas.
Michelle Cherney.
Anita Saracita.
Let the record show that all Charter Review Commission members are here, as well as the two alternates. The next one is for the approval of minutes, which have been sent out in the packet ahead of time. Looking for a motion on that, please.
So moved.
Brian?
Second.
Second by Hank. Any additions, deletions, corrections for approval? Hearing none. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Under member items, we'll start with the Blue Ribbon Committee that I was assigned by the team. Oh, I'm sorry, public comment, you're correct. Thank you, Hank. Anyone would like to make a public comment? See none in the audience today, I'll close public comment. Thank you, Hank. I'm going to ask for one adjustment to the schedule today, if I could have the will of the group. On Article 11, which are financial procedures, our CFO is here today to opine on both what's currently in the charter and any recommendations he may have. He has a commitment that would not allow him to stay to the end, so I'd like to move that up right after the Blue Ribbon Commission. If I can get support for that, please. A motion?
Sure. I would move that.
Okay. Second, good. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, so we'll move you up. Let me handle the Blue Ribbon Commission first, Joe. And as I go through this, which you've all gotten some information on, if you would be thinking, Joe, for a second, timing on the appointment of this group and their deadline for submission. The will of the commission was last time to make sure that any financial considerations were put into the budget or the recommended budget. If the Blue Ribbon Commission should approve some sort of a salary increase for the commissioners, so that you had ample time to build that into a preliminary budget you brought to the team. So if you'll think about that based on the routine you go through when you get to that today for us, that advice you have would help us shape that. Okay? Two quick things I wanted to clear up, well, actually three, but two on the existing compensation for the commissioners. Although the charter did indicate, as we've talked about before, the 2016 baseline salaries indicated a component in there that as COLAs were given to the staff of the community, those COLAs would apply directly and equally to the commissioners as well and become effective the date they do for the staff. I'd indicate on several occasions that had not happened throughout those years, which was accurate with the exception of 2024 and 25, when the group that we have in force now, in charge now, put that in place. They have given COLAs out, and the baseline salaries have been adjusted for the counselors for 24 and 25. So just want to make sure the public has that information, it's correct in the minutes. Also, as it relates to the benefits that go along with that baseline compensation, they, as all of the colleagues, are charged their appropriate co-premium for that, and that is added in their taxable income in addition to that base year after year. So I want to make sure both those are clear. Any adjustments we make going forward would be handled in a similar way, but sometimes not revisiting those things directly as an individual component, it can get lost in the shuffle. So any commissioners have any question about those two clarifications? All right. On the Blue Ribbon Commission, there was, at least through voice motion, the will of the group to pursue the next steps on this conversation. So I'm prepared to do that today. I would say, as I'm going to say always, as information gets in the atmosphere out there, particularly through social media, I'm going to make sure and use the appropriate words for the public consumption on that. There was a representation that this commission, if adopted, would determine the salaries of the commissioners, of the councilmen. I don't think that's an accurate representation. It will make a recommendation. Any determination of those salaries will be by ordinance to the council themselves, should we choose to adopt this process. This group is only advisory and would only make recommendations. They can choose to accept those, modify those, reject those in total, et cetera. So the Blue Room Commission does not come with the authority to determine those salaries, just recommend. So I want to get that on the table. I think you've heard a lot about what I talked about when this was first brought forward. What you have is supplemental information into your packet this time about how it's being handled in a sister community. By the way, that commission met once. Their election is today, I believe, down in Naples, actually. So they met back in September, recommended in one meeting, the final recommendations they had to their council in October. That's handled by ordinance there, as is the recommendation I'm bringing forward today too for conversation. 2 public hearings on that final determination, and then it becomes effective the next, first day of seating of the new council after the election. So while they are voting in many ways on behalf of their own compensation, getting reelected is an important part to whether or not they ever see that compensation. So I just want to make sure that's out there today. So it wasn't an extensive process, but because they have a more mature track record on that now by doing it several years, they have the history and the baseline information, which we can talk about today, to bring all the subject matter experts into the conversation in a couple ways. They don't explicitly outline the membership as it relates to their background expertise, but it's highly encouraged to have financial or some sort of HR, benefits and comp background, something in that line of people that would apply and be nominated. They also have, as we now do, and you've seen this before in our packet, a great deal of professionally obtained peer group information, like-kind communities, histories and patterns on that. The big change they made in the Naples one back in October was they're no longer included in any pension activities, which, if you know a lot about how that works, it's a very, very expensive accrual process for communities. I was involved in Michigan in reducing our pension for our public employees to defined contribution from defined benefit, and it was just billions of dollars of saving opportunity, and let the individual employees determine the investment recommendations they want. So they've adopted that too. Outside of our purview today, just wanted you to know some of the kind of meaty issues that they're dealing with. So I think the best thing to do is to pause and allow you to weigh in on what I've provided. It was pretty straightforward in my mind. It's pretty clear about what the objective would be. And I want to make sure and get to concerns, issues, observations, or support you have on the table. So I'm going to open up the floor to whoever's interested in starting. I guess it was more clear than I possibly imagined it could be with my 2-page document. All right, so I'm going to go down the line then, and we're going to ask for any concerns people have to formalizing this. And let me, before I say what that means, and Nancy and I had a meeting and she reminded me, anything that we decide ultimately to do, she has to document in the format of a legal, whether it's an ordinance, recommended ordinance, or other sort of material for council to deal with. So there's going to be a lot of work around making sure that what we indicate we're looking for gets properly documented, and we'll be in some way, shape, or form exposed to that before we wrap up. But the work's really going to begin when she has to put the pencil to paper and bring those things into the daylight, if you will, of the council action. So it's important, in my mind, that we don't build a camel. We put something fairly straightforward here, as sleek and lean as we can, get our high points and our determinative points in front of her and the minutes, so when she constructs the legal document around putting it in force, it doesn't have a what and a lot of ifs in there on things that weren't clear, because that's what we're doing with the charter now. So Ed, can you mind we start with you? I know you were on record with a COLA last time, but since the will was to move in this direction, I'm looking for any reaction you have to what's in front of you.
No, I'm fine with moving forward with this.
No further clarifications or comments? Okay.
No.
Hank, can we go to you next?
Thank you. Good job in getting the background information. It's helpful to be able to evaluate it in the context of what our neighbors are doing. I had 2 concerns that I think are addressed, but I'd like to put them on record. One is that any Blue Ribbon Committee should also be subject to the ex parte and communication blackout that would insulate them from being contacted by one of the members who might benefit from the salary increase. And secondly.
Let me address that for 1 second and go to your next one. It is very clear in the sister community that we looked at, they have actually required sunshine law training by their legal counsel prior to their first meeting, after they're appointed, which would cover both the communication, the ethics, and the responsibility for self-disclosure. And the ex parte that we talked about last time being more robust, anything that would apply to any of our committees and council will apply to this one.
Okay, well, it wasn't clear to me that it was.
Very good.
But I'm glad to see it. And secondly, I think the timing of both the appointment to the membership of a Blue Ribbon as well as the execution of any resolutions
Yes.
with regard to their recommendations should not be coterminous with the same term of the council. That is, that should be after an election rather than before, so that somebody is not voting necessarily about their salary increase.
Okay, interesting. Bev?
Yeah,
I haven't thought about that one.
No, I don't have any comments. I think it's well-written. I circle back again to what I said initially at the beginning of this, and that is definitions and what we mean by residents. And obviously, people that are living here, but assuming, they declare their residence on an IRS tax form. And if that's the understanding, then I've got no issue at all. I think it's very well written and clear. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Brian?
No, it looks great. I don't have any comments to add.
Okay, let me go down to Michelle.
No, I kind of agree that anybody on there should not be within the council in the last 4 years.
Oh, okay. Did you pick up that, Amy? That's another.
Membership restriction.
Yeah, membership restrictions, we'll put that under there. Great. Anita?
I'm not sure that the membership structure should be any different than the requirements for someone to be on the council. Even though I know, somebody like you, Jim, brings certain expertise, or Brian brings certain expertise to a group like this, I don't know that you want to require something more than the person who's going to get those benefits or that is ultimately elected
Excellent.
to the town council. And then the only other comment I had is that, you've written the benefit, or maybe this is Naples, the benefit is this model is that it creates an independent resident-driven process. It's not really a resident-driven process because it's a political-driven process in effect that the council will be appointing those members. So if the public was choosing who the members of the Blue Ribbon Committee were, then it would definitely be resident-driven. But since the council will choose that committee, I just don't know that it's resident-driven.
Okay.
And I think you want to avoid having things that somebody can latch onto and say, oh, this isn't right, because they'll choke the rest of it.
Duly noted, and I see our experts taking notes on that, so I'm sure that'll be put out. I would say, and I wouldn't mind a little mini conversation with you on this, since we're having, I think, some good clarity around it. All of our committees, as I've observed and participated in some, are by council appointment. They all have, in one way, shape, or form, the potential for individual benefits to a council person, not overtly, but indirectly. Whether it's how we use our boats in the canals or if it's the speed limits we put on e-bikes, they get to benefit from those too. So I'm not as concerned about there being anything connecting who's appointed with the recommendations they make, having any different motivation or outcome than the way we handle all of the committee.
Neither am I.
Okay, great. Just want to make sure we
Yeah,
had that
no, no,
conversation.
no. Yeah,
Some people are
neither
trying to
am I.
stir that a bit,
Yeah.
and having some fun with it. The other
You want me
thing-
to disagree just for the
No,
heck of it?
no, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
So
much less reading
Go
for me if
ahead.
you don't.
Go ahead.
I have
dare you.
2 comments.
Please.
Based on what has been stated so far. First of all, on the ex parte and the sunshine training and public records. So sunshine and public records
basically that training is for the benefit of the members who are appointed to the Blue Ribbon Committee.
Yes.
Because those laws would apply to them, and that's fine. The ex parte, as I heard it, would basically only apply to town council members, because otherwise you're really getting into an access to governmental appointees or officials or staff. You really should not be denying the public access to them. However, we do provide for ex parte disclosures because of the fact that a specific person's private property right may be impacted by whatever action is being taken. And there's a huge debate when ex parte issues came about, gosh, probably back 20 years or so, if not more, because again, you're kind of denying the right of access to talk to those folks.
Okay.
My point in raising it, Nancy, was not necessarily to preclude the public contact, but to have disclosure. And I think that's what you're saying too, that any of the, any ex parte should be disclosed in whatever form it is.
But a member of the public doesn't really have a private property interest in that. However, our town council members do.
But they pay taxes, and
They do pay taxes.
that would be where the salary increase would come from.
Okay, and that's fine. So basically then what, if I'm understanding you correctly, it would be that members of any proposed Blue Ribbon Committee would make ex parte or disclosures of an ex parte in nature, who they've consulted with, what other resources they've looked to that are not present at the meeting itself.
Yes.
Okay. And then my second concern or comment would be, there was reference made that that this would come about through an ordinance rather than, okay, so the ordinance would be creating the Blue Ribbon Committee.
That's correct.
However, the final recommendation of the Blue Ribbon Committee, that would be going to town council by requesting a resolution, if there's going to be a adjustment, or if town council chooses not to accept it, a resolution saying that town council's not going to accept it?
Or a
The
motion to
recommendation?
approve or disapprove.
Okay, but it is not by ordinance.
No, that's not my view.
And again, I would defer to both your recommendation, your expertise. It is being done by ordinance in Naples,
Uh-huh,
and that affords 2 public hearings.
correct.
And that was their bias on that only. If there's a more efficient way, because we would have, and they only had the 1 meeting, so there wasn't a lot of debate or interaction with the commission
Right.
during the development process. So this is where the public got their fingers into it and were able to interact directly with the decision makers.
Yeah, I don't have the documents in front of me. I think I had provided them to you. It absolutely was by ordinance, because I find that usually things of a financial nature, as Joe will attest, budget type things are generally done by.
I'm sorry, you're sorry.
By
you're correct.
resolution.
It was done by resolution. I have a copy of your, there you go.
All right.
Yeah, I misspoke. It was by resolution, and they adopted it at that meeting, which afforded the public during public comment to interact.
Yes.
There's a copy of it,
Yes,
so I
so,
correct that.
so as long as we go with a resolution, I think that's fine. Because the concern is, if you were to go with an ordinance, yes, it is going to be 2 readings. However, the issue then becomes, are you going to codify in Muni Code each time? And it's just unnecessary
Right.
to do it when it can be accomplished by resolution.
Very good.
Resolution, yep.
I have a question then.
Sure, please.
So this is something that you're proposing outside of an amendment to the charter.
Exactly.
That I don't think it's our purview
Okay.
as a committee. Maybe this belongs with the audit committee or some other group, but I've never seen a charter review committee propose an ordinance or a resolution I believe that our job is, and that's what I thought this was going to do, was to become part of the recommendations to the council to put forward as charter amendments. And so this would be incorporated within the charter and wouldn't just be legislative in nature and
yeah.
easy to change. So that's a concern for me.
Good. Let's vet that out. Nancy?
So the city of Naples, since we're kind of, my internet's a little slow here, it is in their charter. And I don't know, do you have the copy?
I do.
Could you read perhaps what the charter says?
Oh, I don't know if I have that language.
Okay, well,
I
let me
have
just let
the,
this finish spinning.
sure. I've got all their stuff, but let me see.
Municipal code, and we go to Naples.
Do you see what I'm saying, Jim? It just-
Within, once every 4 years, they're to
solidifies it.
commission the Blue Ribbon Commission. I think where that debate came, and I'm glad you're bringing it up for clarification, it was how to synchronize that with the fixed salaries that were in the charter today and replace it with this requirement that sets those, knowing full well there could be a recommendation, as extreme as it would sound, that there's no salary paid for the next number of years by this group. So if we embed it in there, we give them the flexibility, we give them the requirement to both create and ordain, appoint and get the recommendation, but it can be anywhere they choose to bring it back to the council through this process, and that has to be dealt with. And I think you're comfortable if that's the way it works. Anybody else have any feelings about that?
I did pull up the Naples language if you want it.
Yeah, if you can just read it into the record, that would be great. We're still trying to get to it.
The city charter provides that a Blue Ribbon Committee of 7 Naples residents may be appointed at least every 4 years for the purpose of studying and making recommendations to the council on the level of compensation and benefits for the mayor and city council members. That's the operative charter authorization, 7 residents appointed by city council, purpose, study, and make recommendations on compensation and benefits for mayor and council, timing at least every 4 years.
And they do have a provision for kind of, the first committee shall be appointed no later than, and there's a date to try to get them in sync with a 4-year look.
Sure. Good.
So to go to Anita's point, it is something that would have to be a charter change. It would have to be adopted there. However, there could be an ordinance implementing the language in the charter.
Exactly.
That fleshes it out a little bit more, or you put it in the charter itself, because they did not put, the qualifications of the 7 Naples residents in the charter. So that was left to be discretionary at the time of appointment.
Which was Anita's other point, which I think is valid and consistent with the way we do appointments throughout the community. So there's no reason to create some special subcategory for this.
It would make sense, though, if I was
Sure.
appointing somebody to that committee,
Sure.
I'd probably pick you,
Yeah,
Or
sure.
Brian, or somebody that
Sure.
had that I knew had that financial expertise.
Excellent.
I wouldn't pick me.
So anybody have a concern with the embedding this in the charter, replacing that current language, and we're moving forward as recommended? All right, well, there'll be another day on this.
Yep.
Thank you for your help. So Joe, if we could bring you up just to, both on this, and then we'll get to your part of the charter itself. As you think about, and whether you want to embed in your answer when you go through what you're doing on these other articles to go through, or you just have a reaction to what we're recommending right now, how best can what this group does, not this group, but the Blue Ribbon Commission, get to you what you need as a working document to try to reflect the impact in the budget of a recommendation will come out for any salary adjustments?
Okay. I'm Joe Onzik, Finance Director. I would think that as we put the budget together, I would think if it were presented to us no later than the end of the month of June, that would be enough time for us to incorporate it into the budget, given the current deadlines and that we have. Is that what you're looking for?
It is, and that would be a placeholder, of course, like all the items are, until they go through the formal process of adoption or debate by the
Yes.
council.
Yes. Is my mic on?
It is low. It seemed like all these are down a little bit today.
Okay.
All right, thank you. I just wanted that on the record as we work through the process. All right, so let's look at Article 11.
Thank you.
Joe, I'm going to read through these, and then you're going to be first up to react to any language in here that you have obviously inherited since 2016 that you would like to make us aware of, either works very well and you depend on it, the way you structure your team and your process, and/or while we have the patient open, what else do you want us to look around for so we can make the other adjustments. So let's do 11.01 fiscal year. The fiscal year of the town shall begin on the first day of October and end on the last day of September. And here he comes.
Oh, no, I have no comment on that. That's perfectly fine, and it aligns with state statute
course.
requirements.
Any concerns on that from anyone else? Okay. 11.02, submission of a budget and budget message. Interesting title. On or before the 15th day of July of each year, the town manager shall submit to the council a budget in accordance with state law. It shall outline the financial policies of the town for the ensuing fiscal year, describe the important features of the budget, indicate any major changes from the current year in financial policy, including any changes in budgetary accounting methods from the current year's expenditures and revenues, together with the reasons for such changes. Summarize the town's debt position and include such other material as the town manager deems necessary. First from the commission, anybody have any obvious things that they're concerned about the July 15th and how that's presented in the charter?
No.
Joe?
So I do have just a little bit of concern about the 15th day of July. I mean, we've certainly been able to make that work. I have seen, in just doing a little bit of research, some other municipalities refer to like the first, on or before the first town council meeting in August. So that would give us a couple more weeks to put that together if we were to be able to consider that change. Because it's a very compressed time frame for us in putting it together. It's been a challenge, so I think getting a couple more weeks of time would help. And the only other comment I have is that, it says the town manager shall submit to the council a budget. And in my mind, it could be interpreted to mean it's the budget. And in all honesty, at that point in the year, it is more of a preliminary or proposed budget that is subject to change.
Excellent.
And so there maybe by inserting an adjective there so that it's clear that that's what it is, might be helpful.
It's an excellent catch. Looking at my team on both the honor before, first meeting in August, and putting preliminary or whatever it happens to be in there, we'll do the right language. Anybody have a concern with those two adjustments to the paragraph?
No, it seems sensible.
Yeah. Anything else, 11.02? Is
No,
that okay?
that was all.
All
Thank
right,
you.
let's read on then. 11.03, council action on the budget. The council shall adopt the budget by resolution on or before the 30th day of September of each year.
I agree with that. I believe that's also a state statute
Statutory.
requirement, so we really couldn't change that.
Excellent. Nice try, Joe. 11.04, public records. Copies of the budget and the capital program as adopted shall be public records and shall be made available to the public at suitable locations in the town. Need anything changed there workability-wise? You've got a lot of experience in that. Joe?
The only thing I'm just have a question mark by is how that sentence ends at suitable locations in the town. Do we actually need to have that in the charter, or can we just end it to be made available to the public? Do we have to be that
Nancy?
specific?
So, Joe, you haven't been with us for all the meetings we've already been going through. Amending the charter is a very involved process because it requires creating language to be placed to the electorate. And sometimes little changes is difficult to justify making that proposal to the town electorate. However, it could be addressed through an ordinance over which there is more discretion and flexibility to accomplish. So, at suitable locations in the town, clearly town hall, if someone were to come to town hall, we would be able to produce a copy of the budget to them But that doesn't limit us to only requiring a paper copy, which is probably what was in effect when this was done. So, I mean, we're already doing it, so I would suggest that we not make the change. And if needed, to provide information to the public, if you want to put that in your ordinances, in your code of ordinances, at a suitable location in the town, which could even be perhaps even at the Chamber of Commerce office
The
or
library.
the library,
Website.
exactly. Or, listing others. But as far as a charter change, I would not recommend that we amend the charter for that purpose.
Excellent.
I agree with
Okay.
that.
Thank you.
No rebuttal, Joe? You're fine with that?
I'm fine.
Okay. 11.05, let's talk about budget amendments then through the year. Subchapter A, supplemental appropriations. If during the fiscal year, the town manager certifies that there are available for appropriation revenues in excess of those estimated in the budget, the council, by resolution, may make supplemental appropriations for the year up to the amount of such excess as long as a fiscally responsible reserve is maintained. Commission, any concerns with that paragraph?
No.
No? Joe?
No concern.
Okay, very good. B, emergency appropriations. To meet a public emergency affecting life, health, property, or the public peace, the council by resolution may make emergency appropriations. To the extent there are no unappropriated revenues to meet such appropriations, the council may, by such emergency resolution, authorize the issuance of emergency notes, which may be renewed from time to time, but the emergency notes and renewals in any fiscal year shall be paid not later than the last day of the fiscal year succeeding that in which the emergency appropriations were made. I trust you have some comments on that, because if the revenues or resources that need to repay those emergency notes are not available for whatever circumstance in the fiscal situation of the community, then that either becomes a charter interpretation issue or a charter violation.
Well, to be honest, I did not have any concern because we have not run into that.
Okay.
And, I mean, I certainly can appreciate that situation could come about, but I really don't know how to reword it in order
Great.
to accommodate such a situation.
You're the subject matter expert. I'll go back to my team and see if anybody has any additional concerns in that paragraph beyond what's been raised. Nothing? Ed? Hank?
No.
Okay. C, reduction of appropriations. If during a fiscal year, it appears probable to the town manager that the revenues available will be insufficient to meet the amount appropriated, the town manager shall report to the council without delay, indicating the estimated amount of the deficit, any remedial action taken, and recommendations as to any other steps to be taken. The council then shall take such further action as it deems necessary to prevent or minimize any deficit for that purpose, may by resolution reduce one or more appropriations.
I agree.
That sounds like good fiscal oversight to me.
It does.
Yeah,
I
good.
agree 100%.
Subchapter D, transfer of appropriations. At any time during the fiscal year, the town manager may transfer any unencumbered appropriations among programs within a department, office, agency, or a program provided by interlocal agreement, and upon written request by the town manager, the council may by resolution transfer between funds any unencumbered appropriations from one department, office, agency, or program provided by the interlocal agreement to the other. That a workable solution?
It is. It's very concise and it covers everything.
Does the team agree?
Yes.
Excellent. Joe, you didn't create much controversy. What do you want to talk about in addition to what we have here?
No, I will leave it at that. Thank you for your excellent work.
Thank you. And I know where you're going for your appointment, so good luck with that, too.
Joe, before you leave,
Yes,
is
sir.
there anything else that we didn't think of that in previous charters that we might add that would make some sense?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I appreciate.
I'm
the
sure you've worked in other communities where these things have come up.
I mean, this is really a very good document. It covers the basics, so I think it allows enough flexibility to handle things, through the normal processes. but yet it makes it very clear as to what the boundaries are in terms of how things can be handled.
So nothing, in your opinion, needs to be added.
I don't think so.
Thank you, Jim.
You're released from this responsibility, Joe. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Nicely done. All right, let's go back to then 7 on the agenda, old business, Article 5, nominations, elections, particularly terms of office and those appointments. I think, Michelle, weren't you thinking about bringing some additional recommendations forward, which is why we carried this over? Or is there anything on your mind on that? Because I know you were.
No.
Okay.
I think the last time we submitted the 2 job descriptions was, and I did that.
It's,
Well, we're talking about terms of election, or terms of office, nominations, elections. You're okay with that part?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you had some concerns about how much is remaining in the terms and some of that.
It's been our practice to, whatever we bring up as new business this meeting will come back as old business next meeting.
All right.
Just,
Then it looks like we covered it. Anything open for the team on that? Okay. How about, I think you've received the town manager's contract now, job description. Any concerns of anything you saw there that ought to be addressed through the charter conversation?
Can we go back to 5 for
Of course.
1 minute?
Of course.
Can we just get, with the situation we're in right now, with the appointment being made to cover Mr. Adderhold's seat, at the next election, is that a 2-year seat or a 4-year seat? Because we will have 2 4-year seats. But the person that's appointed, whether they run for election or not, that seat would just be for 2 additional years. Isn't that correct?
I think Madam Attorney has ruled on that. Do you want to
This is where we
clarify any
got
concerns to be
confused
consistent with
last
what you
time.
told the public?
Don't recall. So I think that we had said that it would be a 4-year term on the appointment, although there was some disagreement about that. But I think that was my interpretation.
If I remember right, somewhere in this charter, and I can't pinpoint it right now, it says that an appointment would be made until the next election.
That's correct, and that is why November will be the election that will determine the term of the, or determine who gets in that particular seat. As I have gone all around on our language here, it comes out the same way every time, is that the next election means the next election. So whenever the normally scheduled next election is, based on the time somebody gets appointed to that day, they need to run formally for whatever the term is that Nancy will clarify for us, but it is the very next election. So November 2026, the individual being appointed will need to run and be reelected by the community. Our charter came out clear on that. Now,
I agree with Ed, and I had the argument with discussion with Nancy about this the other day, because I thought that our last discussion, we were leaning towards the balance of the term. That's where I thought we were. And because I remembered Scott saying something, but then what happens if Dan and I get sick or something happens, God forbid, and then we've got a whole reset with everybody at 4-year terms? I don't like this idea of resetting the term, because that's not what's happened. What's happened is someone has vacated a term, and there's a remainder of that term that someone should run for. I really believe that very strongly. Nancy may disagree, and that's fine, and we all may decide that, but there's nothing stated in our charter what it should be. And so it seems to me historically, someone has run for the balance, but that's just how it's happened. That I think that there's only been one person who resigned who had terms, had time, and another one resigned almost at the end of her term. But it just seems to me that by resetting the 4-year term, it just seems like we're playing with something we shouldn't play with.
So let me give you 2 reactions, let you react to.
Can I,
what you're looking at.
yeah,
Okay,
I
if you've got
found
it, great.
it.
Okay.
So there was a lot of discussion about it, and there was some confusion on my part. So I did clarify on December the 26th. I sent an email to the mayor, the vice mayor, and council members stating that it's my understanding that there's discussion in the community regarding the implementation of 4.08 of the town charter that relates to the length of the remaining term of a vacant council seat. Initially, I believed in error that the term would terminate when the term of the vacating council would terminate. That would be 4 years, similar to when the mayor's seat becomes vacant. However, because the seats are at large and not district seats, that's where my confusion came in, and there is no similar language to the language regarding a vacancy of the mayor, it is my opinion that the term to an appointed vacancy expires at the next regular election. So that's consistent with what Anita is saying.
So the appointed term would be up until
The next
the next
election.
election.
And
Right.
that then
And
ex-
then somebody has the option of running or not
for the
running,
full
whatever.
4-year term of a regular
Correct.
council
And
person.
that would be consistent then with our staggered appointments and staggered elections.
Is there a way, some of you math people, can you figure out, could that work to not be that way? Because in this particular instance, someone, the appointee, whomever that is, would run for election in November and then would run again, or that term would expire 2 years from now because we have another election 2 years from now. But what if it had been, who's got 4 years? Do you still have 4 years left? So you have 3 years left. So I'm just wondering, is there an option, is there something there where it could be that it's 4 years? Do you see what I'm saying? I mean,
You could suggest that, and we could clarify that. I mean, seriously, that this would be a good charter amendment to
it would be a
place
good charter amendment.
to the electorate to get their voice and their opinion on how it should be. But the little twist is the fact that you do have at-large rather than district.
So if you recall, when I had done some other research, Pure Communities again on this, the determinant factor for them was months left on the term, whether or not you had to run for election or you got the remaining term. 24 or less, you went into the remaining term. More than 24, you had to stand for election for the next full term, which is what matched the acceleration of it's no longer a 2-year term, it's 0 now, and you're running for a full 4-year term. The fly in the ointment also became, if you're running for that seat, assume that you want to stick with the original expiration of that seat, which seat are you running for at large elections? If 3 people are running for 3 seats, how do
that
you choose
is the
which one
fly
you're
in
running
the-
for?
That's the fly in the
That's the
ointment.
fly in the ointment.
Yeah.
And the way they cleared it up is they did a 24, you get that. More than that, you got to run for a 4-year term, and that's how we cleared it up. That's what the other charters had done. So there's never, you may change a 3-2, but you're never out of a 3-2 sequence.
So in other words, whoever would be appointed right now would automatically serve 2 years?
It depends if there's 24 or months less.
Well,
So if
and-
they're appointed, whatever that term is, I think it's longer than that for Jim.
Yeah, I think it is.
But if it's less than that, yes, they're appointed to the remainder. It protects then the synchronization of the electric cycles, and everybody knows what they're running for. That's how I saw other people deal with that. So we're kind of back
I
to
would
what we have
concur.
unless you want to put some
I
of that language.
agree. Other charters that I've looked at have that as well.
Do they?
So we can certainly add that to
Yeah.
protect the decision of who's getting what job for what period of time and when are they required to run again and for how long.
But in this particular situation we find ourselves in now, what would happen?
They would be less than 24 months, so they're going to have the remainder of the term. I'm sorry, in this one, it's more than 24, they got to run.
They have to run in November.
For a
And
full
how long do
4-year they get a
for
4-year term because it's
Yeah,
over.
See, I hate that part.
And that we're in a 3-2 now, or it'll be, or 2-3 now, we're going to be in a 3-2 next.
Right.
But what if somebody else resigned in the interim? Just say what else? Scott says, forget it, I'm over it,
What
and
if?
he drops.
And then if that happened, playing
Then-
this out, they would have to run again at the very next election because they get the remainder to that till the next election. So that would be in what, 21 months?
No, that would be in November.
Oh, in November, if you did it right now.
And so now we'd have 4 people running for
we would.
4-year terms.
We would.
Bad idea.
I guess we got to get Scott's commitment on that.
But you know, it could happen,
Sure.
I mean, I just think of times where all 5 council members have gone to the League of Cities. Something happens. Orlando gets blown up. I don't know, something happens. And I mean, in that case, the governor appoints a new council. But what I mean, I guess I just feel strongly that the term that Jim Adderholt vacated expires in, what, 28, and that the election in November should be for, until 28.
And if no one runs for that seat, because they're all running for the 4-year terms?
I don't know.
But when they're running on the ballot, I don't think the seats are,
They're not
They're
numbered,
but they
they're
would
not
have to be.
identified.
They would have to be in this situation
be
if
the
there was charter
change.
amendment, yeah.
okay.
That, they would have to be designated, and somebody would want to have to run for those 2 years.
Or maybe it's, I don't know how, I haven't really thought how to resolve this. I'll think some more about it.
Okay, great.
But, yeah.
Well, we're not done with our business yet.
But maybe
and
not
thanks for
everybody
raising it.
agrees. I mean, maybe everybody thinks it should be 4 years. I don't know. What do you all think?
I think it should be 2 years. I think it should fill out what was Jim Adderholt's seat,
Or whomever's?
to keep the rotation correct, whether it's 2-3, 3-2, whatever.
Well, then, let me
You
ask
got-
it, let me ask it this way, Nancy, because you clarified it with not being a district. What if the charter was changed to say, if you're appointed, you serve the remaining months of that particular individual's term? Can the charter do that for us?
I think so, but how are the seats assigned? Aren't they alphabetical?
That's not what he's asking.
No, I'm just saying who's ever open, whatever they got left, they get.
Okay.
And that would seem to solve all the issues that we're trying to work around a little bit. It does,
It doesn't
however,
fix
back to
our
some other
current
conversation,
situation.
does put somebody on council for longer than normal without electorate reaction. But I guess they can react to the appointees, the councilors.
They could.
Anybody think that's a,
No, it seemed like a reasonable solution.
okay,
So
I'd
you,
like to see him fulfill the term.
so you're proposing changing the language that says the appointment is until the next election.
taking that out and putting, and placing it with, they will serve the remainder of the individual's term to which they've been appointed.
Yes.
And that wouldn't apply in this case because none of these
Right.
changes would take.
That's right, be the
Yeah.
next one.
Yeah, so what would happen in this case?
It's already been determined.
Sorry.
So
the
it's the
charter.
2 years,
2 years.
yeah. So then you create the flip of this election cycle, you're going to have, what, 3 people on the ballot instead of 2? But then next time, you would only have
Two.
2.
Just
And
reverses
then you
the
would have
3-2.
3.
Yeah.
So it just kind of takes the,
Well, no, next time you'd have 3 if in fact the person who assumes the 2 years has to run again in 2 years. You'd still have 3 because you're not changing the rotation.
But then they would pick up 4, so you're off cycle again because of the 2-year interrupted.
I feel like this is who's on first.
Yeah, so I think
I need a
we,
chart.
I think
Yes.
it seems the simplest to me, and I think what requires, first of all, legal opinion, if the individual appointed is running in November for 4-year term, then that is what it is, and they'll deal with that. I think our charter language adjustment here could very easily solve what we've recommended, at least talked about, is you'll serve the remaining term, and that keeps everything on sync, and everybody knows what they're running for
For
when they
the
run.
future, yes. Yes.
Reasonable?
yeah.
So, but Nancy, your current thought processes, or your current advice or ruling is that this November, whomever is appointed is running for 2 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Town manager, I was just clarifying, everybody got what they needed to look at the contracts and all that, and the deputy? On the town attorney, just one thing, Nancy, and you made this clear to us, but the charter language, I want to make sure is satisfying to you. You said we don't hire an attorney, we hire a law firm? We didn't hire you, we hired your law firm? Did I quote you right on that?
Well, yes, but the law firm serves as the attorney.
That can be interchangeable for purposes of the charter. We hire an attorney, whether it's individual or law firm, we hire an
Correct.
attorney.
So there's no needed change.
Excellent, okay, thank you.
Okay. Good.
All right, new business, Article 7, I believe we're at. Town clerk. All right. 701, duties and powers. There may be a town clerk. Oh, wow. There may be a town clerk who shall be appointed by the town manager with the consent of council. The town clerk shall serve at the pleasure of the town manager and shall. Let's stop with that first sentence. Amy, any concerns about there may be and consent of council? How's consent work on that when you're hired? Does council have to approve your hire by the town manager?
No, I think he might go before them, but they don't have to approve it, no.
Anybody concerned about consent?
I don't think there ever has been consent. But the town clerk is an employee of the town manager.
Absolutely. So it would seem like we should clean that up.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I
Town
never-
manager
never
makes
even
the
thought
hire?
about it. Yeah,
Counselor, you have any issues with that? No, okay. Let's make an adjustment there.
yeah, you know, though.
So again, I would just suggest that that might be something, a
referendum.
change to your charter, as I did
Mm-hmm.
when Joe was here. Basically, a town manager would probably let their council know informally that there's an intent to hire a certain individual.
So the consent isn't harmful, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, good, great.
And asking them is not.
Watch us move on.
Yeah.
Subchapter A, given notice, the town manager, the clerk shall give notice of council meetings to its members and the public. Okay?
Done.
B, keep the journal and minutes of the proceedings of the council and its committees, which shall be public records. Stop me when you have
Oh,
something.
I just have a question. What is the journal?
The journal is basically the town records.
Okay,
A journal is an archaic term that's been used in other charters as
so we
well.
don't keep a physical book any longer.
No.
Okay. C, authenticate by signature and record in full in books kept for the purpose all ordinances and resolutions passed by the council.
Once again, we don't have paper any longer.
Okay.
Everything's electronic,
So
so
signature is now electronic authorization or approval. Okay?
paper doesn't swim well.
So the way that that could be done, but I don't really think it's necessary, is that there could be an ordinance adopted that clarifies the definition of books to be, and journal as well. Any type of digital file that is an official record of the town. Also, I will state that there is a Florida statute that requires us to identify who the clerk or the keeper of the records is, and in our situation, it is
Let the
Amy.
minutes reflect that clarification and potential resolution around that. D, be the custodian of the town seal. You have that, Amy?
I do have a seal.
great.
and I am in,
Is the ink still good?
it's
E.
an embosser seal, so yes,
Have the power to administer oaths.
I do that.
Okay? F, perform such duties as may be assigned by the town manager, and there it is in every job description.
That's the scary.
Anything missing on town clerking from the commission? Concerns? All right, great.
I just would ask you, is there any
No, I think it's fine the way it's
fairly
written.
clear and no difficulty?
We, just the phrase serves at the pleasure of the town manager. I mean, I understand the concept behind that, but from a practical human resources perspective, it doesn't really work that way. Does this cause us any pain with this language?
You talking about it being an at-will position?
Correct.
Yeah. Any concerns there, Nancy, on your side from whether or not that represents the way it operates?
I believe serving at the pleasure dictates it is at will.
Okay. As
Um,
long as we got that on record, it's good with me.
Okay.
Good.
Fair.
All right. Article 9, administrative departments. 9.01, establishment of additional departments. The council may establish such other departments as it determines necessary for the efficient administration and operation of the town. Such departments, offices, or agency shall be established by ordinance. Any history there that anybody should know on how that works or not? Or it's just there as a feel safe and we've got it if we need it? Just what it looks like to me.
Yeah.
So when it talks about, this is not creating an org chart by ordinance, it's basically within your code, there are several departments that are spelled out and provided with a little bit of text.
And anything more than that would need to take avail of this process to get established.
No, shall be established by ordinance.
Yes, what I mean. The
Yeah.
charter recommends the process by which to get it done.
By ordinance, correct.
Okay? All right, speaking of ordinances, let's talk about those in resolutions in Article 10 if we can. Section 10.01, definition of ordinances and resolutions. As used in this charter, the following words and terms shall have the following meanings unless some other meaning is plainly indicated. Subchapter A, ordinance means an official legislative action of the council, which action is a regulation of a general and permanent nature and enforceable by local law. It seems to fit perfectly to how we operate. B, resolution. Resolution means an expression of the council concerning matters of administration, an expression of a temporary character, or a provision for the disposition of a particular item of the administrative business of the town. So one looks very permanent and hard to overdo, and one looks more temporary and able to be adjusted. Thus the two, or administrative, yes. All right, let me open up the team on ordinance or resolution. Any recommended changes to that language? Sorry to bother you, Anita, but does that all look good to you?
It looks great.
Okay, great.
It looks great.
You had to live with it a long time.
Thanks for asking.
You had to live with your own cooking.
Looks great.
All right, 10.02, let's find out how adoption of the ordinance is handled. Every proposed ordinance shall be introduced in writing and the form required for final adoption. No ordinance shall contain more than one subject and matters properly connected therewith, which shall be clearly expressed in its title. Well, there's a challenge. The enacting clause for an ordinance shall be, it is hereby ordained by the town of Fort Myers Beach as follows. All right, so there's the general setup. Anything from the commission on that they're worried about? Is it plainly?
Yep.
Everything
I'm
plain?
trying to think if there's ever been, if there's the single topic. I don't know why that's running with me, like, maybe we've had multi-topic ordinances, have we?
Well, when they're related.
Okay.
For
Okay.
instance, you may
Yep.
have one ordinance that amends your entire land development code.
Got it.
And I do want to add that we do have Florida statute requirements that we adhere to. And so I think the language here is consistent with those. But if it's not, the statute is going to override anything that's in our charter. The purpose of the title, drafting the title is kind of an art, because you want to be able to, no, seriously,
I know it
you
is.
want to be able to convey to the public what matter is being talked about. So you want to make it pretty specific. However, on the other hand, you don't want to have a two-page title that addresses every detail. So generally, if you get enough information in the title, that would at least put them on notice to go find out a little bit more if they're interested in it. There is not a requirement for reading the title of resolutions at our meetings, but we do, because again, it gives the public the understanding of what the town council or even the LPA is currently looking at and will have under consideration. So it, changes that we have made, sometimes titles will say, an ordinance amending Chapter 6 of the LDC regarding Section 419, providing for conflicts, scriveners, severability, and a conflict and a effective date. That's insufficient because generally, yes, a member of the public can go and look up that section of the code, but it doesn't really give them enough understanding of what's actually coming before the town council. So we like to address the section in the code that's changing, but we also like to add a description of it. We can't hit every little thing, but enough to really let the public understand what is being considered.
I smiled, and I think this handles any concerns around that, but I smiled because I know the changes we attempted to make, and I think made progress on how public notices are written now. If you read those, it's clear to the reader that it's not about housing subsection 6.2. It actually says they're going to build an apartment building here, and if you want to come and do that. That was a great adjustment over the last several periods, whatever it's been. And I know we're all trying to get the same place to get the public connected with what we're really talking about. And if they want more, they can either research or come in. All right, subchapter A. An ordinance may be introduced by any member at any regular or special meeting of the council. A proposed ordinance may be read by title or in full, or at least two, or let's start
At
that over.
least, not-
On at least two separate council meeting days, and shall, at least 10 days prior to the adoption, be noticed in a newspaper of general circulation in the town. The notice of proposed enactment shall state the date, time, and place of the meeting, the title of the proposed ordinance, and the place or places within the town where such proposed ordinance may be inspected by the public.
So I will comment, the two readings. The first reading that we have of all our ordinances are generally the introduction reading. There are some municipalities in the state that simply read the title and move on to the next agenda item, because there is no requirement that you actually deliberate and discuss. Other communities, including Fort Myers Beach, I think take a more practical approach to it. They have the discussion on first reading, and that way, any needed changes can be made before second reading, and then presented at second reading, and then a decision could be made at second reading. In the first example that I gave, what would happen is the title would be read, and then you come to a second reading of the title, and then there's really all the discussion of policy issues, what changes need to be made, which might even precipitate a third meeting. So it might look like it's more efficient to just, read them, but in reality, it really works much better to have that discussion, policy discussion and debate on first reading, so then you know that maybe it doesn't even need to come back for a second reading if there's not enough support for it.
Yeah.
Nancy,
ahead.
I'm curious, since so many newspapers are going out of existence, and we read about it every day in national publications, are there more creative ways of stating the availability of information to the public?
Well, I think that the statute still requires noticing in the newspaper, so this doesn't, I'm not really advocating for any type of change to this language, because I think it's consistent. I'll defer to Amy, because she has to do all the noticing.
And I believe the statute calls for a newspaper of paid circulation too. So, which in our instance is the news press, because that's a paid subscription.
But then is there somewhere, to Hank's point, that
Technology.
elaborates on our policies and procedures beyond just the newspaper? It's on our website, it's out in the lobby, it's, that, is there any way that the public can say, we do this every time? I know what the charter requires, but we do this too.
Any ordinance, when it's coming for that first reading, will be in the agenda packets, and the entire ordinance is
That's a
there.
good point.
So it's noticed on the agenda.
Yes, and also Amy has been instrumental in adding a little bit of language to our agendas, so that if it is adopted or approved, it's not adopted on first reading, it's approved on first reading for scheduling at, and then she'll have the date in there for the next meeting, so that some communities don't do that, and,
Right.
you don't know when it's coming back.
And Amy, do you see the notices that are in the paper?
I place the notices in the paper,
I
so
know,
yes.
but do you,
Yeah, we'll get a tear sheet from the newspaper with the actual, tear sheets are all electronic nowadays, but we'll get an affidavit of publication
okay, I'm
from
just
the
curious
paper
because,
that it's been there.
at each a committee member, committee issues on the county level, the clerk has to opine that notice was given within that period of time on the record.
And I do here now also.
Each
Oh,
meeting,
okay.
yeah.
All right,
Yep,
thank
she's
you.
asked.
If you, Nancy will read her script at the beginning of each public hearing, and she asked me that question there.
Good, okay, thank you.
All right, item B, the council, as provided by general law, may adopt an emergency ordinance without complying with the requirements of notice expressed in the foregoing paragraph. An emergency ordinance shall become effective upon adoption and automatically stand repealed as of the 61st day following. Scott, you had to operate in the real world in this thing. Did this part of the charter give you flexibility you need to do what you need to do when the town was in emergency?
I wasn't, excuse me, I wasn't on the council.
So I can
Oh,
opine
during-
to
okay.
this. So we did have a situation where, unfortunately, we found out the hard way that our ability to do appeals of our building official decisions was no longer possible to take them to Lee County Construction Licensing Board. So we adopted an emergency ordinance to allow those appeals to go to our special magistrate. At the same time, however, we did a first reading of the same ordinance as a first reading of a regular ordinance. Then it gave us the latitude of 61 days to be traveling or authorized under the emergency ordinance, knowing that we were going to come back with a second reading of the regular ordinance, which would then supersede that emergency ordinance.
Fabulous. I didn't finish the whole sentence I saw on the other page. Emergency ordinance shall become effective upon adoption and automatically stand repealed as of the 61st day following the date on which it was adopted. This shall not prevent reenactment of such an ordinance under regular procedures, which is what Nancy just outlined.
Yep.
Everybody good there?
Yep.
C, ordinances which rezone specific parcels of private real property or which substantially change permitted use categories shall be enacted pursuant to general law. Property rights, Nancy?
Yes, so
Okay.
for rezonings, we are dictated by general law.
Sure.
We do have our development agreement, which has the potential of rezoning property. So our development agreements are also adopted following the same procedures for rezonings.
Oh, okay.
Every other type of land use approval is primarily adopted by resolution.
Item D, an ordinance shall, upon its final passage, be recorded in a book, kept for that purpose, and shall be signed by the mayor and the town clerk. A copy of the ordinance shall be available in town hall. Electronically assumed now, Amy?
Yep,
Same process, though.
correct. And
All right.
they're all on our website. Once
There
they're
you go.
signed, we upload them to our website, and then we send them to, depending on the ordinance, to Municode.
Sure.
Anything before we move on to resolutions? Section 10.03, adoption of resolutions. Every proposed resolution shall be introduced in writing and in the form required for final adoption. No resolution shall contain more than one subject, which shall be clearly expressed in its title. The clause which shall be used for all resolutions approved by the council shall be, it is hereby resolved by the town of Fort Myers Beach as follows. A resolution may be introduced by any member at any regular or special meeting of the council. A resolution shall, upon its final passage, be recorded in a book kept for that purpose and shall be signed by the mayor and the town clerk. A copy of the resolution shall be available in the town hall.
Amen.
Any concerns? All right. So that brings us to the end of our formal agenda today. Let me talk about just a little bit about going forward, getting down to a couple meetings left. So we should be able to bang through in March, I think we've got the date on here for the next meeting, March 3rd. Bang through the remaining part of the charter itself. I will, between now and then, sit down with Nancy and Amy and any others she recommends to give you all an outline of a protocol and process that we're using in April to start to synthesize and codify our conversations. I will be publishing the final red line copy that you'll all get a copy of, as will everybody else, and be able to look through that. I would ask you to look for those material or significant things that would alter the meaning by a different reader versus just personal preference, if you will, so we don't relitigate some of this, and get ourselves acquainted with what we're going to do in April, which looks like at this point, we'd be putting our draft recommendations together. work through from Nancy's advice on what category we recommend to council they think about these in, and she gave us that whole litany of them then, and preparing the first outline through conversation of a draft document that then we would bring forward to the council the following month to meet the deadlines we need for them to do anything they want to do on referendum. So that'll be the back half of next meeting, which I think will get everybody organized. And any feedback or reaction you have, obviously through the appropriate channels, but more of that we can do in live court, live conversations, the better. Any concerns with any of that? Amy?
No concerns about what you just spoke about, other
Excellent.
than April 6th, you're scheduled to present to council your changes. So do you want a second March meeting, or, because we're trying to catch that supervisor of elections deadline?
Isn't that in June, though?
It is, but
You need
this is
something
all
else?
going to be by ordinance.
So you guys have the two readings. Okay.
Right, and discussion by council. Generally, there's a council agenda item where they can discuss it, and then they direct me to bring back an ordinance for first reading with whatever changes they would like to make in the ordinance. And this is where I must follow Florida statutes that limits the number of words that I can put in there to make it understandable and transparent to the electorate, but at the same time, not occupy a, 20-page ballot.
So let me make a recommendation, if it's the will of the group here, and have a good conversation around this. In my mind, it would very be determinative of where we are after our conversation in early March. If we get to a place that we're just providing documentation, I think we're going to be pretty well off. If we're at a place where we're going to have additional discussion before final, the document all see, I think we can call something with and amongst each other to reschedule something after March 3rd, whether it be the very next week or something more critical than that, maybe the very next day, whatever we need to do. But why don't we kind of see how that feels and looks, so we can best use everybody's time, get us the largest amount of participation we can by looking dynamically at our calendars when we're here, and then I'll just reserve the right to have another March meeting if we want to bring something to closure that way. Everybody good with that?
Yes, and if I can add, at the final recommendation that's made to council, generally, sometimes we're able to go ahead and work out some proposed wording for the charter change. And I would, because of all the conversation, not compensation, regarding the term of someone who is appointed, it might be beneficial to have sample language from you all as to how you would like to have that worded.
Mean where we ended up on remaining term?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind writing that, because
Yeah,
I
I
made
mean,
the
just-
recommendation. I'll do an
just-
outline and let the group look at it if you want. Okay? All right, so let's do any member items you've got. Let's do reverse here. Anita, anything on your mind that we should be thinking about before the next meeting?
Nothing about the charter, but thank you.
Michelle?
I am traveling on March 3rd,
Okay.
so I am asking if I could do it remotely.
Of course, we'll have to reluctantly approve that at the time with you not being here, but we'll probably get that done by vote.
Thank you.
Brian?
No comments.
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, I'd like to, I think it's worthy of discussion, something that occurred over the, since our last meeting, and again, referring to social media and a lot of misunderstanding. What came up was this idea of homesteading, and that to run for council, you needed to be homesteaded. And that's not my understanding of.
It's not the case.
It's not
true.
the case.
No.
And
not the
so I'd like to, if possible, spend a little bit of time discussing that at the next meeting. Is that something that we want to look at for the charter, for example? Or is that something that is just misinformation and we just move on? But I wonder if it's worthy of a discussion.
So Nancy, I know the concerns we always have about devolving into conversations that then we have to document and do things like that with, and whether or not it's necessary. So I can react to it personally going through it, or you can react on behalf of the town attorney's position about qualifications, whether or not homesteading is involved or not, and get that off the record. Or I'm sorry, get that on the record. Get it off the table, is what I meant to say.
So I did do a memo that was sent to town council when this issue came up. And let me see if I can find it. I know Amy sent it to me the other day.
While she's looking up, Hank, anything on your mind for
Yeah,
the good of the cause?
just that I would like to see some language
This
with
would've been
regard to
Monday.
what I suggested on the ethics issue.
Okay.
And Nancy and I haven't spoken, so we haven't really put together a draft, but I would like to, for the next meeting, provide more finished language and suggest.
Leave that in your
an
hands. You have
inclusion.
full support, of course, so.
The only objections I've ever heard is that it might be redundant, and I say amen. We could use redundancy and restating. Nobody reads state statutes at, at the dinner table, so let's try to make it very simple, okay?
Done.
Thank you.
It's on your table.
Okay.
Ed?
I don't have anything additional.
Okay. Pause here a minute for Nancy to react to
Well-
Deb's.
Can I just bring it back to you?
Of course. Is that good with you?
Yes.
Yeah.
January 9th.
I know, but my emails are not functioning correctly. You sent it as well.
All right, we'll bring that back
Send
then
it
as a
back.
follow-up item. We're getting close. I just want to start a process of thanking the team for the attention to detail here. People have been here, they've been engaged, they've done their homework, they've been provocative, but they've been cooperative, and the right compromises have happened. I think we're doing what only gets done once a decade in a pretty good way with a diverse group of people that some helped write this and some of us inherited it. But it's been fun to work with you all, and we'll continue to go down that path and get this thing wrapped up. So with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Any support?
Second.
All right. The ayes have it. We're adjourned.